Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Marlon. Welcome to Chronic Pain Warriors United. Hope y'all are all doing very well and are having a great weekend so far. I really appreciated all the outreach on X and Reddit the other day. I learned an amazing amount of information. I am blown away. So many of y'all's stories are so familiar, and the fact it's happening to so many people is not a travesty, but, well, yes, a travesty of justice. So I wanted to talk about tonight um, my experience, my life, my story, tell y'all a little bit about me, how I got to where I am today. And I promise as I go, this is going to sound very familiar to many of you. And the point is going to be to lay out the consequences of untreated chronic pain and how they affect our communities and our country at large, but most importantly, our individual American citizens, friends, family. These are our compatriots, our co-workers, our brothers and sisters, our wives and mothers. They deserve our compassion. So, and by the way, this is happening all over the world, not just in America, as several people on Reddit have pointed out, and I've been remiss to mention. But I can only hope to really redress my own leaders here in this country with my own compatriots. But I can provide support, knowledge, education, and outreach to everyone. And that is the goal. So, to go back in time a little bit, I am 35 years old in April, coming up. I was originally diagnosed with what is known as temporomandibular joint disorder. It is damage to the joints that control the motor function in your jaws, and the vast majority of people diagnosed with it are women. About 60 to 70%, statistics say. I was diagnosed after a bad dental cleaning, fixing, whatever you want to call it, which is an extremely common outcome. It happens to millions of Americans and Europeans, Canadians, Mexicans. It happens all over the world. What did mine was a bite block, as I'm sure almost all of you may have had at some time. A block they put in one side of your mouth that holds your mouth open. I don't know what happened. It caused the issue to start. A car wreck a year and a half after that. And then in high school, a random punch to the face after that. And then about a year and a half later, the popping and cracking and manipulation of my jaw became so painful that I sought medical intervention. I didn't know enough. I didn't learn enough. I was led astray by, I don't want to say he purposefully led me astray, but I was led down a path I would not go down today if I was as educated as I was, by one of the best oral surgeons to treat TMJD, and absolutely considered one of the best in my city and state. I will name him later on, but I'm not going to right now. He was an advocate, is an advocate of early and often intervention with temporomandibular joint disorder, TMJD, with surgical intervention. Of course, wanting a quick fix and not knowing that that was not a great option for people as a starting point, I went along with it. Over 10 and a half years later now, well, 11 and a half years almost, 11 years. And at the end of this month, it'll be 11 years just about. Yeah, that all happened. And coming out of that surgery left me, like many back patients, like many facial surgery patients, in much more pain than I went in with. um, that pain was ignored for the most part. And then when it got to a point where I was just adamantly demanding that something be done, the surgeon's obvious answer was more surgery. He didn't know what had gone wrong in the first place, didn't know how he was going to fix it, but of course, more surgery was going to fix it. I was not going to go down that path, obviously. I'd already started doing more and more and more research. I found and learned that for my particular thing, my particular disorder, that doing things that can be reversed at will or necessity are the things to try to start with. When you're dealing with your face, I didn't think about this, nobody told me this, I hadn't read any papers. You obviously don't want to do things that are going to be permanent right off the bat. Logical, obvious once you think about it. You do not want to do anything with temporomandibular joint disorder, with my personal thing, before you try other options that are permanent, before you try other options. Because my surgery was done first, many of those other options were eliminated right off the bat. And many of the ones left to me were extremely expensive or extremely dangerous. And so one of the only recourses left to me was to treat my absolutely life-changing, debilitating chronic pain. I can only do these videos once a day or so, and then I have to spend most of the rest of the day mute. I cannot talk like this consistently throughout the day. I would be in absolute agony, and my joints would probably be damaged. I just couldn't do it. So I had to find a way to try and treat my chronic pain like most all of you. Probably you're feeling like, other than the disorder potentially, the exact symptoms, what happened, you're like, this sounds familiar, Marlon, and I'm sure it does. So I tried that. Me being 24, 25 years old at the time, I got the trope, you're too young for this. We're not going to start you on opioid medications, effective pain management, because you're too young. We don't want to start you down this path. Okay, and what is the better option? Self-harm? I mean, I personally have thought about those things many, many times, but I do not have the constitution to follow through with them. Never have and never will. Other people do and have. I think you all know what I'm talking about. Taking yourself out of the game. So they're saying, we're not going to do this. It's not a good option for you at this age. The better option, I guess, in their minds was constant chronic pain, mental health deterioration, and loss of hope, which is what I experienced. I tried the normal legal avenues over and over and over, and they all failed. So I could not live that way. My work was gone. My life was gone. I had nothing. I went to the black market and I treated my own pain that way for over 5 years while constantly trying to get back into the system. So I went from 25, 26 to around 31, 32, treating my own pain constantly all this time. Probably even before that, 22, 24, 23, somewhere in there. I mean, the years run together so fast, but it was a long time. And what happened to me is what happened to so many others like me who did the same thing, who had no other choice. I got some bad substances mixed with something to this day that the doctors still have no idea what it was. It put me down. It gave me seizures that were not normal. it wound up giving me something that we still don't know what it is yet, what's causing the thing to go on, but I now have seizures, and short-term memory loss problems have become a thing of my life since that. As somebody who had an eidetic memory or very near eidetic memory before that and did not forget things, it's been an issue. It's been very hard to deal with. So that was just another thing that altered my life potentially forever because of this. And there were many, many, many other Americans just like me who had similar things happen, but instead of waking up in a hospital a day and a half later like I did, they never woke up. And then you had the others, like I said, who just lost all hope and chose to take their own path out. Ladies and gentlemen, this story has happened millions of times to millions of Americans, and the cost to not taking our fellow Americans' suffering seriously is steep in both blood and treasure. We are losing it beyond calculable value in lives, in potential. And then on top of that, the loss of revenues and monies and workability and everything else. It spirals and affects every part of our communities and everything around us. It does not take a $20 million Harvard medical study to figure out that consistent, effective pain management for those suffering through chronic pain, whatever that is for them, dramatically improves their quality of life and dramatically improves their output for society. Why would we not constantly be pushing forward towards those things? Instead, we've created an atmosphere where people like me are forced into situations like that, completely normal, law-abiding American citizens who have no other recourse and cannot live in the pain and agony that they are in and literally cannot function. What other recourse did we have? Our leaders and our medical communities and in the governments and socially failed us and are still failing us on epic proportions. And that's why me and friend, who I'm addressing as friend for now, I may release his name at some point, but not now. I can't now, both for my own personal reasons and others. But me and friend saw this happening and said no more. And unfortunately, he became one of those ones that chose his own way out. He did not see a path, I suppose. I don't know. I would like to ask. But it is happening too often. The cost is too high. So we have to come together, ladies and gentlemen. Chronic Pain Warriors United must be an avenue for change. We have to unite our voices, and we have to demand that our leaders, as they are, both socially, medically, and politically, change the system to better redress and deal with our problems. There are over 50 million Americans who suffered from some sort of chronic pain for over a year in 2023, and 17.5 million of us who suffer from debilitating, life-changing chronic pain. And several million of those are drastically undertreated. And there's probably a few million more that we don't really know about that are just trying to treat themselves and go about their lives because they don't have the money, the insurance, the connections, or blah, blah, blah. It is such a massive, widespread problem that we have to fix. So that's my story in short and in a quick bop, bop, bop from one phase to the next, kind of. I'm sure it sounds super familiar to many of you. My particular disorder, like I said, is TMJD, but you could take that disorder out and slip most of your disorders or problems in. Your stories are my stories, and vice versa. That's why we can identify with each other. That's why we can understand each other. That's why we can support each other. And that's why we can come together with a united voice and say, we understand each other's shared experience, and we demand that you, others who do not understand our experience, listen and change to accommodate it. That it has to happen. So please get up there, hit that follow button, and please get into the comments and send us your stories in these comment sections. Put your comments and stories down there because they are so important. They're going to be so important both now and in the future. Those comments and those stories are you. They're not just words on a website. They are you, and they are important. So please give them to us. Also, like I just said, hit that follow button, give us your stories, hit the like button, and we'll be back probably Tuesday. I really appreciate y'all. We are going to take this as far as we possibly can and make as much noise as we possibly can, and we are going to change these things. I'm Marlon. We'll talk to y'all very soon. Cheers.